Hi, folks. Welcome to this amazing webinar today. I'm Park Howell with the Business of Story, and I've got my good friend here coming all the way from London, England, Gavin Hammar with Sendible. Gavin, great to have you
Great to
here.
be here. Yeah, it's really great to be here with you, Park. Good
You
to
know,
catch up
you and
again.
I got acquainted about this time last year in a roll-up to social media marketing world, and learned about your platform for publishing, storytelling online. And then we got a chance to meet in person at Social Media Marketing World, which I will be back there again this year. I hope you will be.
I'll
I've
be
got a
there
session
definitely.
going
Yeah,
on March 1st on Sunday. So all of you watching, I hope you will, if you're heading out there, come enjoy the session with us. But we've been then in cahoots, I guess, for lack of a better term, over the course of the year. We jumped on the Sendible platform. Marissa Hill, who handles all of my social and community engagement for Business of Story, which is a lot because we crank out a lot of content, has absolutely loved the platform. And I invited her on the show today, but she said, no, thanks. She'll be sitting back in the background. She's helping monitor this for us. And we've got a poll up there that she's created. So if you're here and you see the poll, go ahead and let us know what your thoughts are around social, what's working for you, what's not. And we will look at that and cover that later in the program too. But first, what we've got going for you, as promised, I'm a big believer, and I don't know if Gavin completely goes along with me or not, but content marketing, the way we all used to do it, to me, just seems to be dead. And the reason being is it results in massive amounts of content daily being thrown at us and bouncing off of our minds, and we don't know what to watch, what not to watch, what to connect with and what not to connect with. And it just gets to the point that literally our brains start shutting down and we just as soon hit that delete button than to click through. But what I've learned in my years now of working with the Business of Story is the way you hack through the technological noise in today's world is through the primal structure of story. And primal, I say that because our monkey brains, and we are, make no mistake, storytelling apes, essentially, that's what it craves. It has to create meaning out of the madness of being human beings. It has to find the theme and the meaning in that cacophony of communication that we're all bombarded with. And it's not just enough to be a good storyteller. You have to be able to publish it wisely, get it to people on their terms at the right time, and really make use of their time on their behalf, bring value through the content and how you structure the story and make it interesting and make it human. And that's what we are all going to cover today. Not only do we have Gavin with us from Sendible, but we've got 3 of his clients, customers that have been using Sendible to great effect, and they're going to be sharing their stories and how they tell stories online to grow their business and grow their clients' business. So with that, Gavin, thank you for taking the time. I know it's a little bit late out there in London, but for being here with all of us, it's awesome to have you here.
Awesome to be here, Park. And I think after we met at Social Media Marketing World last year, I realized that storytelling is the key to social media engagement. So I have a few slides to share with the audience. Should I kick it off now, or?
Before you do that,
Yeah.
I just want to do real quick. Who is Gavin Hammar, and why did you start Sendible in the first place?
So some background on me. I'm originally from South Africa, a place called Cape Town, which is a small town in South Africa. And back then, the original story was that my dad had a factory he was running in South Africa in Cape Town, and he asked for a way to be able to schedule birthday greetings to his staff. That was all it was, just being able to send emails on their birthday, wishing them happy birthday. And I decided to build the software just from scratch, just to help him with his business. And I built it in a way that you could send any type of content. So Sendible it was born out of the idea of being able to schedule content, but making sending anything possible. So Sendible, sending any type of content possible. So I built the software and I put it on the web probably about 10 years ago now. It was free in the beginning before social media became a big thing for business. We were scraping Facebook and even MySpace back then to try, publish content at the times people had scheduled. And it quickly got like 20,000 users really, really early on. It was still free, 20,000 users. And reached a point where I started making a bit of money here and there, charging for the odd little feature. I needed to basically quit my job to be able to keep pushing this thing forward. So it's a long story. It's on Forbes, actually, if you look at Forbes. But I was working for a company that wanted to basically take half my business back then. To let me work on Sendible on the side part-time, kind of working 1 day a week on Sendible. So I ended up giving away 10% to my employers to let them kind of give me time to work on Sendible in my, that day, 1 day a week. And I reached a point where I was actually so close to quitting Sendible, giving up, because they didn't actually deliver anything. I gave away 10% for free. Again, it's a long story, but essentially I quit my job, went all in on Sendible, tried to make it profitable within 6 months. I had 6 months of savings left. And within 6 months, I was able to make a living off it and turn it into a business. And that's basically a summary of the story. But yeah.
That's awesome. Just a small little need to connect with people on a very human way that has now grown into this international platform with thousands of agencies and clients using it. So with that, I'm going to jump off here for now and turn it over to you. And take us through Sendible and the tips that you've got for our listeners on how they can be more powerful storytellers online.
Cool. So I just want to check you can all see my screen. If you guys want to leave a comment.
Yeah, I can see it here.
You can see it? Okay, great. So just some background on me. As I said before, I'm from Cape Town, South Africa originally. That's my hometown. Anyone been to Cape Town? Any other listeners?
I never have.
Never have. So it's a great town, beautiful city, great mountain. So that mountain is called Table Mountain. It's the flattest mountain in the world. And I moved to London in 2005. I wanted to travel, see the world. So I'm living in London at the moment. I'm a founder and CEO of Sendible. So Sendible is a social media management software solution. We provide software for agencies to help manage their social media. And as I said, I've been building social media tools for about 10 years now. So I've seen the changes in social media over the years, how it's progressed from just sending the same piece of content to multiple channels at once to where it is now, where it's about crafting unique content for each channel. And just a fun fact about me is I discovered a massive Facebook glitch in 2010. If you look at TechCrunch, you can read all about it. But basically, there was a glitch where any user of Sendible could publish on behalf of the brand. So if you had connected your Facebook account to Sendible, you could actually impersonate a brand like Starbucks and post that on their behalf. So Facebook called us back then. We had to kind of figure out how to fix that bug in their software, and we worked together to get that resolved. And fast forward to where we are now, it's used by around 20,000 marketers worldwide. And even though we're in the UK, most of our customers are actually based in the US. These are some members of the team that were actually over here for a kind of a meetup last summer, but it's probably around double that now. We have various accolades. We're partners with Facebook, with Instagram. We've been rated a leader with G2 Crowd, which is a kind of a review site for software. And obviously been rated in the Inc. 5000 and various other sort of awards that we've received over the years. So I want to start off by saying that marketing has changed. In those 10 years that I've seen since we started Sendible, we've seen so many changes. The main thing is that people used to vote with their wallets, but now they vote with their time. So I want to introduce you to, this is a real customer of ours. His name is Jeff. He's been a user of Sendible. And 5 years ago, Jeff started his social media agency at his office. He's got a small team. He's got a dog, and he's very proud of how far he's come. But he's also seen a shift, just like we have. There's been a massive shift that he's seen in the last few years. His content is getting less engagement. So if you look at that chart, you can see the average Facebook engagement over the last few years is plummeting. So you can see it's dropping drastically. And he's really struggling to show an ROI for his efforts. So this is one of his clients called Slate. And you can see referrals in millions, how it's just declining over the years between 2017 and 18, and even more so the last couple of years. And here's what he's up against, right? So there's a world of constant interruptions. People are receiving push notifications, you're getting alerts on your phone, People are consuming mobile more while they're on the go. There's a chance of losing their attention. And the algorithms are designed to keep us in the feed. So if you look at Facebook's news feed, LinkedIn, whatever it is, Twitter, they make money by keeping us in their news feed for as long as possible. And add to that with the interruptions and distractions and all this content, people have become skimmers and scrollers. So they're just browsing, skimming, scrolling all day long and not really paying much attention. So Jeff has discovered that it's really impossible to get someone to pay attention to his content so he can drive engagement for his clients. And he's really just struggling to show value for his clients. So of course, like we all did, we started using social ads, the silver bullet, quickest way to get engagement. You put ads out there, you pay for your attention. And obviously we see engagement rises for a while, but this doesn't convert into revenue for his clients. So he's advertising on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, but there's no real return on investment for his clients. And if we look at this, this graphic, you can see that people are getting better at ignoring ads. So 38% of US online adults have installed an ad blocker. It's really much harder to even get them to click on an ad. And that's what he's seeing, is ads are becoming much less effective. So finally, Jeff understands, he gets it. Social networks make money by optimizing their algorithms to keep us in the newsfeed. So they're trying to keep us in the newsfeed, drive more impressions, get more ad spend. But as marketers, we're trying to drive people away from the news feeds. We're posting links, posting ads, trying to drive them away from what the algorithms are optimized to do. So it's a recipe for disaster, right? I mean, this is what's happening. We see it coming now. We've obviously seen this recently at Sendible. It's never going to work for the long term. Advertising, we believe, is going to die off. It's not going to be a good tool for driving sales. And what's more is that people don't know who to trust, right? So you've got fake news. Obviously, Facebook and other platforms have clamped down now on fake news and influencers. And there's a survey that was run recently where, do you trust the influencers you follow? And 77% said no. So it's just not knowing who to go to trust, people ignoring the ads, and they don't know what's real anymore. So if you look at Instagram, you've got these overly polished personas, these photos that have been photoshopped, and it's hard to see what's actually real these days. But people will give you their attention when they can relate to you. So if you are human, honest, and open, they will give you their attention. So here's what Jeff discovered. We need to stop interrupting what people are interested in and be what they're interested in. It's really about being what they care about. Stop trying to sell to them. Just be human, be authentic, and be yourself. So as I said before, people used to vote with their wallets. Now they vote with their time. And who they trust is who they listen to. Who they trust is who they recommend. Who they trust is who they promote. And who they trust is who wins their attention. So really, trust here is everything, right? It's all about trust, how you can build trust. And Jeff realizes now that the way he's been selling the value of social media to his clients is wrong. Social media is no longer about direct sales, driving return on investment immediately, showing results. It's really more about brand. That's all it is. It's really about driving brand awareness, driving trust, and building a following. And the best way to build a trusted brand, as you all know, is through storytelling. And what's the best storytelling platform we have today? It's social media, right? So social media is the best place for you to tell your stories, whether it's through video, Instagram stories, social media posts, whatever it is. Social media is the best storytelling platform we have right now. So here's the reality. Most people could care less about what you do on social media or how amazing your life, brand, product, or service is. What they really care about is how you can make them better versions of themselves through the stories you tell and the lessons you share. So it's really about what value can you bring to their lives through your own experiences to make them better, have a better experience in their lives. So I'll show you how I've done it. So I've obviously, since I met Park last year, I've really been studying storytelling, different techniques, and here's what I've seen. So I've got two personal examples of posts that have really worked using different storytelling principles. So I'm going to just dig into one example first. So this was a post I put on LinkedIn, and you can see this drove 100 engagements, 100 reactions, 16 comments. And just to break it down for you, You start by proposing a problem, so attention grabber, and on LinkedIn, you only have really 2 lines to really grab someone's attention. So I have a confession to make. When Sendible was just me, I created a fake employee called Lisa. So that's the problem that gets people's attention. Then you elaborate and aggravate on that particular problem. So I elaborated on that by saying I used we instead of me. In fact, I used we a lot. That's because I really didn't think any customer would take a one-man company seriously. We needed to seem bigger. So Lisa would be the one you'd hear from when you emailed a help desk or had a sales inquiry. If only people had known they were really speaking to the founder. So that's kind of setting the tone, getting people to read on. Then you have this inciting incident, the bat, the sudden pivot. But over the years, I've learned that customers want to back an underdog. They want the real story. And then finally, therefore, it's time to stop being what you think people expect you to be and just be you. And then you end off with a CTA. So here's what I want you to do to learn more. And obviously, I discussed this in a podcast episode. So that's that's how I've broken down a typical story I've used that's driven loads of engagement. So here's another example from just, I guess, last week. This drove 174 reactions on LinkedIn, 10,000 views on LinkedIn. And really, you can see how there's not even a hashtag used in this content. So pose a problem. This is kind of back to the story I was trying to tell Park in the beginning, but shortly after starting Sendible, I accidentally gave away a large percentage to investors for free. Elaborate and aggravate, so I lost motivation and had pretty much given up. And then the inciting incidents, the story, the guy that changed my belief was Martine, my wife, actually. So, but Martine believed in me. She convinced me to spend all our savings to buy back the equity, quit my job, and go all in on Sendible. I had 6 months to generate enough revenue to support me before we were broke. So that gets you to really pay attention, suddenly see what happened next. And then overcoming obstacles was, so for 6 months, I did nothing else but work flat out 16 hours a day. And 6 years ago, she was finally able to quit her teaching job and join me in the business. And then finally, the lesson or takeaway, if it weren't for her support, I honestly don't think Sendible would be here. And happy Sendiversary to Martine, I owe you the world. So you can see how I've broken this down. This is a formula I've used in all my LinkedIn posts. No links. There was a photo in this one, but you can see how it's really about being transparent, vulnerable, authentic in your posts. And what about ROI, right? So it's all very well sharing stories, sharing experiences, lessons, but how can you measure success of that particular story or post? So here's a moment or a comment that really sums up everything I've been saying so far and what we're trying to do for our customers. This is a customer of ours called Anthony Francis, who obviously shared his experience with Lisa, this fake employee. But the real key here is, I love how active you've been on LinkedIn. You're inspiring me to pay more attention again. Thank you. So it shows how you don't need ads. You just need to be authentic and human in your content to get people to pay attention. But my favorite message so far is from another customer of ours called Carsten Plaza, who said, I don't know, but seeing the human face behind a tool I use, Sendible, makes me want to use it so much more, if that makes sense. So that's just showing the value that it brings of being human, showing a face, being transparent. It drives loyalty, it drives trust, and gets your customers to pay attention to you. And we all know social media is constantly evolving and it's impossible to keep up. We've got TikTok now, the latest sort of trend. But here's a quote from Jeff Bezos, CEO of Amazon, which I've always stood by. And he always says, focus on the things that won't change, not the things that will. So find the thing in your business or in your life that will never change and make that a priority. And I believe that marketers that are able to craft the most human stories for their brands will win in the long term. Storytelling has been around since the Bible, as Park will tell you. And if you can continue to kind of craft stories that drive, get people to pay attention, they can feel something, you'll win for the long term. And we believe in this so much that we've made it our mission at Sendible. So our mission here is to make agency owners successful by helping them amplify the impact of their client stories. So getting their stories out there, getting them told, helping people pay attention. And we're building a place at Sendible now where agencies can bring their client stories to life on social media. So if you want to use Sendible as a way to craft your client stories, plan them, collaborate, I suggest checking it out, see if it works for you. And one final thought before I bring in our panelists, and I've spoken for 20 minutes. But this is just the final sort of thought that I think I'll leave you with, which is customers buy from people they are comfortable with, and people they consider their friends. And friends don't sell, they tell stories. So if it's all about getting people to pay attention, people to trust you, it's all about telling stories, building friendships, collaborating, and building connections. So this is our brand essence. Every brand has a story, be its voice. We try to live by this. We try to preach it to our clients. And before I hand over to our panelists, just a quick giveaway we're doing. If you're a customer or you're starting a trial and you want a hoodie, a Sendible hoodie, if you email me at gavin@sendible.com, I'll ship you one of these Every Brand Has a Story, Be Its Voice hoodies. Even if you start a trial after the webinar, just let me know and I'll send that over to you. And you can see some happy customers there wearing their hoodies. We've even had a lookalike or a copy version of our hoodie being created, inspired by Sendible. Marketing is no longer about the stuff that you make, but about the stories you tell. So if you want a real Sendible hoodie, let me know and I'll ship you one after this. So if you want to leave any questions, we'll take them at the end, I believe.
Well, I'll jump on real quick here.
Yeah, go for it.
I want a hoodie. You never told me about the hoodie, man. I want a hoodie. I'll get that from you in San Diego over at Social Media.
Definitely, I'll bring you one when I'm there.
Hey, I wanted to do just a quick check-in on our poll. So, man, we've had great, 80% of the people here have voted. And at the very top of the list is generating engagement. 61% of our attendees here are just, looking for the information you just shared there of how can they use, stories, or what can they be doing for greater engagement online. Next up in order is being consistent. And that's a hard thing to do. I know we crank out so much content, but to do it day in and day out and wondering if it's just disappearing in the ether gets frustrating. So consistency is a huge thing, followed by ROI and simply managing the platform. So I think we're hitting on all those, and I think your next guest will do a great job with that.
Cool. Yeah, I guess if you guys have any questions, please leave them in the chat window as well, and we'll get back to those.
And I'm keeping an eye on that too. So hit the Q&A or the chat window, and I will serve them up for our panelists here. It's all yours.
Okay, so these are our panelists. So Desiree Martinez, founder of All-in-One Social Media. Sophia Rabe, the founder and CEO of Olive and Milo Social Studio. And Andrew Bartolotta, if I pronounced that correctly, digital media director at City Current. So if you guys want to turn on your cameras now, and if you guys can give our audience just some background on what you guys do, that'd be great. Maybe Desiree, if you want to start.
Hi, I am the self-proclaimed oldest customer at Sendible. I have been using this tool for almost 10 years, and I have a fun story that I'm sure I'll share with you along the way. But my agency focuses on helping you grow your business with better content marketing while putting military spouses to work anywhere that they're stationed around the world.
Cool. Sophia, do you want to go next?
Yeah, so I started my agency about 4 years ago, and I've been with Sendible for half of that time, and it's changed my agency and done a full 360, both for myself and for my clients and those who are on my team. I help most types of businesses around the United States and a couple in Canada, and I love working with nonprofits specifically, but also a lot of independent business owners as well.
Andrew.
All right. I work at City Current, which is a group of partner businesses that put in forces and funds to power the good through the community through events, media, and philanthropy. But I also do a lot of freelance digital marketing, and I love being able to share the good that's going on. There's so much negative news. So having a tool like Sendible to share visuals that are positive and uplifting is something that I love to do. And a fun fact is visuals are processed by the mind 60,000 times faster than text. So having great visuals makes it key to have quality engagement.
Cool. So I'm going to just throw out some questions. Feel free to jump in when you like. So firstly, what's the hardest thing that you guys struggle with as content creators and publishers and kind of showing ROI for the brands you manage? Who wants to go first?
I know for me, the hardest thing that I deal with my agency is getting content from my customers. I have the full spectrum of involved to uninvolved customers. I have customers that like want to review everything that we're going to post. They want to send me things that they're doing. You know, they have photos and videos and emails that they're sharing. And I love those people because they make it so much easier to tell their stories. But I actually have a couple clients that I never hear from, like literally never. I have a guy that signed up with my agency like when we started, and I haven't heard from him in 3 years. But it's because we just kind of keep doing what we're supposed to do for him. And it's obviously working because he's happy with it. But it's just like, for me, that's my biggest struggle as an agency owner.
I feel the same way, where sometimes I feel the frustration that my services can only be as good as the content that I'm provided with by the client, which makes me so frustrated because I personally feel like I can provide so much value. But when I'm constantly nagging clients for content, or on the other side of it is sometimes they don't have the content. So I'll suggest, okay, let's invest in a photographer, or just, set up a couple days where we're creating the content, whether it's shooting video or just, like spending time on site and generating a whole bunch of content that we can later use. And they don't necessarily see the value in it because they think it's just like, well, why don't you just, put up a link on Facebook, or, and then, I'm kind of left with working with what I can work with. And then I feel like I'm not really doing what I, want to do in terms of going really beyond for the client. So I'm right there with Desiree with, pulling actual content. And like Desiree, I love the clients who are just like, here's a huge folder of pictures, or anytime you need, like some clients will be really open to me literally creating a shot list for them. And so I'll be able to take all my ideas in terms of content marketing and storytelling and turn it into a shot list, and they will go and pull the content together. But then I also don't hear from people a lot of the times. So yeah, same struggle.
I think a lot of it too is just making it easy for the clients to realize that content is around them at all times. So whether they are a B2C company, they're a restaurant, or they are more B2B, it's all about how we can showcase the behind the scenes too, about what's going on in our business or our company, that really showcases that we're human, and how to humanize that is something that I try to work with our partners on. And sometimes it's as easy as, okay, maybe you were burned in the past by a photographer and you feel like you don't want to spend $6,000 on a video for one event. So how do we make you comfortable with Facebook Live, or using Sendible to have a campaign and have a queue set up? So it's really just like breaking down those barriers, because for those business owners too, they feel like social media is more reactionary for them because they have so much more day to day that they have to focus on. So it's really cool to be a part of the team to help partners share their mission and really just showcase the good that they're doing.
So what are some of the goals that they would be coming to you for? Like if you were to name like a goal, is it brand awareness? Is it to drive sales? Like what's the typical sort of need for a client?
I tell my clients that the goal needs to be beyond sales, because everything that you're doing in business is for sales. So that seems like a very superficial and obvious goal. So it's like, what are we trying to accomplish with what we're doing here? Is it to grow your email list? Is it to get views? Is it to build awareness? Is it to get clicks? Is it to drive traffic to your website? Is it to get watch time? Is it to get shares? And really like understanding that every post should have a goal, and the goal isn't always about sales, and it really shouldn't be. And I think that social media is about, I feel like in today's era, after 10 years of doing this, it's really about educating people that it's like social media is not a sales tool. This is not a billboard where we're broadcasting everything that we have to offer to somebody. Why aren't they buying? It's about building that relationship. And I think that that is something that is hard to educate people with, but and especially when they're investing their money in an agency. But I think when you're doing a good job and you're showing them the results based on those goals, then they're on board.
I think a lot of clients also come not really knowing what their goals are. They just kind of feel this urgency of, oh my gosh, I need to be on social media because everybody else is, and that's the current way to kind of show up and compete. But what does that even mean? And for some people, it's like Desiree was saying, it's all about driving sales. For other people, they measure their success by the amount of followers, which I try to steer away from because that's more of like a vanity and less about connection and really telling a story. So yeah, again, like Desiree was saying, it's a lot about education and kind of, okay, you have these goals, or maybe you don't actually, but let's hone in on what these goals actually mean and how social media can be the vehicle for it.
Hey, Gavin, can I jump in here? We have a question from one of our attendees, Gabriella St. James asks, thank you, is consistency always the best? Do you have to be consistent? Because she says, I see disruptors who break the rules and do things that are, totally not expected, get a lot of engagement too. So where do you all stand on this idea of being super consistent or being more rogue and just disruptive occasionally?
I use an 80-20 rule when it comes to my scheduled social media content. So about 20% of the time, it's that evergreen content that is your Wednesday wisdom quotes, or it's this is our mission, this is our vision, or here's a menu item. And then that other 80% is here's us. That's the disruption of here's us in the field doing something, or it's the activation piece. So that way it doesn't become second nature and they just scroll through our content. Because as Gavin was saying earlier, there's so much content that we're just inundated with. And so how do we make that valuable for them? And if you stick to the same thing each week, people will start putting their blinders on and just scroll through your content. So what do you do to catch them off guard and see something new and different? That's why I implemented sort of that 80-20 rule. And I see pretty good results with that.
I think the disruption is what people react to the most, and you need to kind of get reactions in to keep people following along and relating. But I also think a balance of consistency is good because it shows that, you're focused and, having a laser focus on a strategy or a campaign is really important as well.
I think if you're not consistent, there's a difference between being consistent and being boring. I think is kind of like the balance of it. I really liked what Andrew said about leaning into like this 80-20 rule, keeping it fresh in time and stuff. But in order to build and grow and be present, like you have to be consistent. It's like the only way to do it. And I think that algorithmically, all of the platforms want to know that they can count on you to show up, because that's what they're going to try and feed your content appropriately according to that.
What's the typical frequency that you post on behalf of a brand? Like how often are you guys posting content?
I think it totally, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, you did not cut me off. You're good.
I think it boils down to so many different things. One of them being content, like if some people show up and they're like, oh, I want to hire you to post 7 days a week on 5 different platforms, but no, I don't have any content and I'm not ready to invest in it. Then I'm a firm believer, even if you do have a ton of content, that quality is so much more important than quantity. So, even if that means posting 2 or 3 times a week, but with like really solid posts, kind of like the ones, Gavin, you were showing on your LinkedIn, rather than just scraping together 5 or 6 posts and spreading them across every platform. That just kind of seems like, I don't know, that's not really breaking through what everyone else is doing. So I really feel like it's there's no magic number, and it comes down to budget and content and the story and the mission and the goals. And yeah.
I've sort of, I divvy it up between my personal account and my business account to where, and Sendible does a great job at this too with Veronica and Gavin and the whole team, where they humanize it, and they don't do it to sell and all the time. It is about real stories. And so how do you use the business that you own to, or help and share those ideas and champion them on your personal page, but also on your business page, because you have similar viewers, hopefully, but also you're tapping into two different algorithms. So I've used that, and I think that's worked for us at City Current.
And the other thing is, obviously, as you're saying, Andrew, about sort of brands versus personal accounts, do you see more engagement from the personal accounts as opposed to the brands themselves, or even, even company pages?
Well, I think even LinkedIn has been huge, something that we've been trying to do more of in the past year. And we've tripled our LinkedIn followers on the company aspect, but I've really seen increased engagement on the personal aspect when it comes to if we're working with a partner, making sure I tag the CEO at the company, or taking pictures when we're at the event, and then posting them on LinkedIn, not just sharing a text update about what I learned. And that goes into, there's content all around us, and it's just, how do we share those great nuggets of information, those aha moments with the world?
I really think that right now, where social media is having the most success is in personal brands. I think that personal brands will feed businesses. And I think this comes down to the idea of like, people do business with those that they know, like, and trust. And people know, like, and trust people. They don't know, like, and trust a logo. You can be a part of a business that has a great purpose and does great things and has a great product, and people will still want to connect with you individually as much as possible, because everyone wants to know the CEO. Everyone wants to know and be like a quote unquote insider. And I think that is like where I've been seeing a shift in with my customers and my clients, is that they're having more success being essentially a spokesperson for their brand. And so they're investing more in like being the face and developing their knowledge and being that forefront, and then funneling business that comes in. And like when people are like, I want to work with you, I want to buy your thing, I want to do this with you, they're able to push it to the brand. And that's what I've been doing a lot with over the past 6 months.
And what would you say is your one top secret tip that you're reluctant to share with anyone that has made your content shine in the eyes of your clients? Is there any like examples you want to share of really engaging content that you've posted, or something that you're really proud of? Maybe Andrew, do you want to go first?
Sure. One thing that I love to do on Facebook, and I don't know, whenever I teach workshops, at least half of the room hasn't used this tip. So hopefully everyone on here has, but on Facebook, inviting people to like the page, like, okay, do a boosted post on your target audience, but then go through that post and then invite those people that shown interest in your page to then like the page. Doesn't cost anything. And that's one thing that I teach nonprofits, because a lot of them are doing amazing work, but their following could really use some more engagement. So it's just, that's one tip that I found that's really helpful, is just on Facebook alone. But then also, it's not like Desiree was saying too, it's not just B2C or B2B anymore. It's really like that human to human interaction. So it's keeping that personality. I love to be behind the scenes. So something like this is completely new to me. But it's really cool to showcase, okay, this is who we are. And with storytelling, I think you have to have those humans. It's not just the logo or the tagline that's going to move your engagement forward.
My tip is, you got to make them laugh. The best content I ever create, and that gets the biggest return, is the stuff that anyone that knows me in any way, shape, or form knows that like sass is my default language. And so I'm almost always adding in a fun flair to whatever's going on. And I ask questions based on like a ridiculous experience I've had. So one of my most engaging posts that I had in like the whole year in 2019 was, I posted, I've been buying presents for like my family for Christmas, right? And there's always the joke that moms are the last ones to take care of themselves and do stuff. And so I posted this thing that said, I don't know which of my mom friends needs to hear this, but you probably are due to buy yourself new underwear. And I don't even know. I think it's just because of what I was thinking about, and it hit and related to so many people. It was my most engaged piece of content I had. It was the most shared. And I think it's just because it was funny and it was relatable and it was probably really true. And I think that is what really helps people, is being able to like take down the veil of being all of these things and just being real and relatable and funny at the same time.
Yeah, I think, I mean, you took the words right out of my mouth, and I say this to my clients over and over again, that sometimes the most unplanned content is the best content. You know, you can have a whole calendar of content to be published for the month, but if something spur of the moment happens, or, you know, to Andrew's point, that content is always around us. So I'm always saying, you know, because I can't necessarily be on site with the client all the time, for them to be my eyes and ears, because sometimes the best content is, you know, something funny that happens in the kitchen at the restaurant, or a customer that comes in, or, you know, something funny that happens in the office, or just something personal and relatable. And maybe it relates to the business, maybe it doesn't, but because it's the human behind the business coming to the forefront, that usually tends to get, you know, the best engagement. And I have a lot of clients who are really open to that and really have started picking up on that, and, you know, like texting me pictures and being like, this just happened, can we share it? And it's a completely like off the calendar, off the book, spur of the moment sort of thing, but the second we share it, that's what people are all over, even in compared to something that's like really strategically planned based on, you know, who the audience is. So I think keeping an ear and eye out for opportunities like that, not only does it kind of like disrupt the normal consistency, but it brings people in and along with it.
Yeah, for me, I've developed this sort of, not a tactic, but like a strategy around LinkedIn, where maybe it's a tip for business owners as well, but every trialist or a customer that signs up to Sendible, I will connect with them on LinkedIn with a message saying, I'd love to get your feedback on the product, how we can improve. And then I'll just share content that's more storytelling on LinkedIn to build the trust. And often I'll get feedback like, you know, I like this or I don't like that, or can you improve this, can you improve that? But just the surprise of a CEO or a founder reaching out to a new customer or a new trialist it's crazy for them. Like they think, how could this person have even thought of contacting me on LinkedIn? And they suddenly just break down these barriers and boundaries, so you can really build the trust from nothing.
Which is so funny, because isn't that like, shouldn't that be almost most common sense thing for all of that?
No one does it. It's amazing.
You know, I want to jump in here too. A great insight. And, you know, of course, I'm always trying to look for story and story structure whenever we are posting anything. And so I'd like to ask the panel here, as Gavin showed at the beginning of the show with Sendible, that he talks about actually using story structure and the inciting incident, you know, set the stage, you've got the problem, the inciting incident, and here's what the solution is, which I personally believe in because it's a basic problem solution dynamic. Now, we all walk around the planet with that problem solution dynamic working in our heads as intuitive storytellers. But what I've seen is when we get into business, when we're posting, especially about brands and business online, that we forget about that intuitive storyteller and we want to look smart and sound rational and that kind of thing, where I believe the greatest gift we can do for ourselves and our businesses is move from an intuitive to an intentional storyteller using these structures like Gavin showed earlier, or the and, but, and therefore that I preach, or the 5 primal elements of story. So my question to you all, when you are working with your clients and you see something of interest that you think, their customers, their online peeps would be interested in, do you think in a story structure? Do you pull your content together at least with that problem solution dynamic, and then, you know, add the sass to it and have some fun with it? But I was just curious how intentional you are with your frameworks.
When I first bring on board a client, they have to fill out a questionnaire, and it's a really long, lengthy, in-depth questionnaire, and everyone usually complains about it, but is thankful for it in the end. And one of the reasons it's really great that Gavin is an accessible CEO is he actually helped me work on my questionnaire. And it was mostly about like how I was trying to gather the information, because again, I have to create content for my clients, assuming they're going to give me nothing. So I ask them a lot of things that are very specific about, like, tell me about your brand, tell me about who you are, tell me about the founders. But then he had given me some extra pointers of things to add into the questionnaire to get them so that we could tell stories. And since then, I have created sort of this, like, I want you to tell me about yourself into 3 buckets. Who are you if you had to tell me everything about you and fit it into these 3 things, what would it be? And so, like, if I was to use my personal self, it'd be like domestic life, like motherhood, being a wife, being a fur mom, my obsession with tea and being a Slytherin. You know, my second bucket would be all about content marketing and YouTube and that kind of stuff. And then my third bucket would be all about my Women of YouTube project. And so these are the things I know when I'm coming to tell a story, I can always turn to those 3 things because my audience clearly understands this is who I am. And I have to ask myself, does what I'm about to post have to do with these 3 things? And if it doesn't, then I don't post about it because it doesn't fit into my story that I am telling. And so I work with my customers on making sure that we very clearly understand who they are so we can tell their stories.
In the same way, I have a really extensive questionnaire, and whenever I send it, I always preface it by, this isn't to make more work for you, but it's to help me help you. And it's a lot of questions about who they are and what their goals are and the message they're trying to convey and, their mission and how they want to stand out. And when I create a plan for people, sometimes I create a plan and hand it off and they do it themselves or someone in-house does it. Other times I'm the one doing full management, but I always, as part of the strategy, create what I like to call pillars, or, what Desiree was saying, kind of the buckets. And sometimes it's 3 pillars, sometimes it's 4 or 5. But I like to, maybe it's one pillar is a personal one. Another one is about the business itself. Another one is maybe more resourceful or inspirational, and, kind of have themes that all overarching connect back up to the business and the story. And when I provide structure for them to be able to post, because a lot of people, or even myself, are kind of like, what are we even posting about today? Or what are we doing with this whole calendar from a monthly point of view? Everything falls into one of those pillars or buckets or categories. Because then not only are you being consistent, but you're telling a story and you're using these foundational tools to tell that story.
Andrew, do you want to add to that?
I would just say that knowing your clients personally has helped me, and knowing what they stand for and their values has helped as well, and being their brand voice online. So a lot of people don't even know who my clients are, because I want that brand to act as if one of my clients is a Asian restaurant in Memphis. And so I want people and customers to think that the owner, Michelle, is the one posting. So, there's a little bit of sass and flair that Desiree was speaking about, but there's also, she has someone in her family that is autistic. So and she loves to be philanthropic with an all-girls school here, and also about sustainability. So I know those things about her, so I can weave that into the content that we share about her Asian fusion restaurant. So I think, like we've said, really the whole time, it's about those human to human interactions and keeping it real.
Hey, I want to jump in real quick here, Gavin. We've got about 10 minutes left, and I was having some probably user error on my part on a chat session, and we are now finally getting some more questions in. So is it cool at this point? Can we open it up? We'll still keep talking amongst us, but can we open it up to some of our attendees? Mona checked in with us. I believe Mona is with us in town, as I understand, from India, working with ASU in communications of the Walter Cronkite School. I just got a note from a friend over there, and she asks, yes, how do they measure brand awareness? Are they ever asked to do that? What about KPIs? Any examples they can share? And it's not India, but Egypt. Sorry, Mona. She's all the way over from Egypt. Anyways, brand awareness. How do you measure that?
I actually, when I started here 5 years ago, my boss said, okay, this is all great. And we're actually under an insurance company. So they're very analytical and what could be a very boring industry. And he goes, okay, so what's going to be the ROI? How do I know that if I pay you X, I'm going to get more out of you? And I said, you have to think of it completely different, because I'm not the insurance producer, salesman bringing in content, bringing in sales. It's the stuff that's a little bit harder to measure. It's the heartwarming stories. It's the connections, the relationships, the brand trust. And some ways that we measure brand awareness are connections, which you have to get a lot of testimonials from our partners on how they are working together. But it's really cool when you can sit in a meeting and you can see an idea brewing, and then 6 months later you can see that come to fruition. And we've got a tool that's coming to Memphis that'll help feed the homeless. And it was because we brought in a group of people from United Way. We brought in Mick Ebling, who's doing some amazing things and disrupting ideas and using technology for good. And so it's why, yes, we do have sheets that say, here are the follower increases, here are, the reach, all of that, and all those analytics. It's also storytelling. So we do 5 to 10 stories that really show the impact each year. And a lot of that is just being aware of what's going on at your company.
It's interesting. And I am glad to hear you say that, Andrew, because it's something that I know and feel so confident about, but really struggle to educate a lot of my clients about, because a lot of them do come to me with, okay, what's the ROI? Or, where are the charts and where are the numbers? And, when we're running like Facebook ads or paid social or something, that's something that's a little bit more tangible, and I can actually show, leads and conversions and clicks and, the amount spent and everything. Whereas I'm always kind of saying, bear with me, because organic social media or storytelling, content marketing is, it's just more abstract when it comes to KPIs. And, Sendible has great reports that I send to my clients at the end of every month, or sometimes more often, that has all the kind of like vanity metrics, like followers and, that sort of growth and everything. But what I try to encourage people to do is just keep an ear out. Like I had one client who said to me a couple weeks ago, he's a restaurant in Boston, and it's kind of like it's not really sit down service, it's a counter type order restaurant. And one of the regulars came in and was like, hey, I've been seeing you post on social media a lot more, like it's so fun. And so that's not really something that I can print out and send to a client every month and show on a chart, but it's someone who's a regular, who's still going to be a regular, and is just like noticing the story and is noticing, it's PR essentially. And that just, that, I guess that is, it's hard to measure, but it's there. It's just not on paper necessarily, which not everyone likes, but that's the reality of it, I think.
Real quick, Sophia, I think also allowing space for the clients or customers to have those testimonials and feel encouraged to talk about that is also really great, because like you said, you can't really measure that. But when you allow for conversation and not making social media just a monologue, but also a dialogue, then that helps them feel empowered to say something about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I literally have nothing to contribute. They nailed it all. Good job. We're all kind of universally in agreement.
Should we take some more questions, Park? Or
Yeah, I'd like to add one thing to that.
Okay.
And measuring story. We have done that. We have gone out with our clients who really in this day and age are primarily online. They're still doing some traditional advertising, but most of it is online. And I can tell you Adelante Healthcare here in town over the last 7 years have grown by 600%. And Aveen Tafoya, their CEO, told me it was precisely because they got their brand story dialed in. They had a singular narrative that everyone could buy into and prosper from. And then they paid very, very close attention of online how they supported that overall narrative with little anecdotal stories and little moments that their patients experience, that their doctors experience, that their volunteers and nurses experience. And she has said because of that focused narrative approach, they've experienced that kind of growth. Goodwill of Central and Northern Arizona grown by 400% here. They'll tell you because they've got an overall or overarching narrative that guides their online performance and the stories they tell there. So you really can, if you set that baseline and then understand, once you really kick off into a focused narrative and telling stories online over the course of 12 to 16 to 18 months to a couple years, you can see a significant ROI on that effort.
Yeah, I guess one example, since I started this journey of storytelling on LinkedIn in particular, just like something out of the blue, this radio DJ contacted me. She runs a radio show in the US with 500,000 listeners every month or something crazy. I think it's on NPR, one of those networks, asking me to come on and tell my stories. So I think just by being transparent and open, it opens up opportunities for you. Instead of just selling all the time, it's more about how you've experienced those challenges and how you've overcome them that people really are drawn to. So it's hard to measure, but it's just as opportunities that open up from nowhere, just by being open,
Well, I'll throw it out there because we only have a couple minutes left. Any last questions? You all have done such an amazing job of providing such great content. We are not getting overrun with messages, but I'm getting a lot of thumbs up out there. So
there's actually a question here I think that's really interesting that I would love for us all to answer is how hard is it to encourage your clients to let go, share more personal stories, and let their natural humor shine through? And I know for me, again, some of my clients don't give me anything, so it does make it harder. And so I have to just remind them constantly that you have to, one, trust that I'm doing my job. I know what I'm talking about, and I'm not interested in making you look silly, and remind them about like when they go out networking and talking to people that like the real connections happen. Like once you can start laughing and telling those fun stories and being a real person, or, your customers keep coming back because they know who you are. They know the owner. They have those personal ways that they can relate to you. And I think that it literally goes across the board for every single business. I think it's just a matter of explaining it to them in a way that they can understand it.
I think the most successful clients I have are the ones who let them be personal, or that I have a relationship with, because then the better I know them, the better I can market them. And if they're more hands-on, and I don't mean physically hands-on where they're actually doing the post, but they're just like really into talking every month and connecting and brainstorming. I feel like that's where the success is, because it's all about telling a story, and you need to know their story and get behind it and tell it. Yeah.
And what's the one thing you're going to do more of this year on social media, Andrew?
I'm going to be more visual, but also more transparent, because we all have a story to tell. And so one thing that my wife and I were trying to grow our family. And so we're being very transparent about that process. And it's opened up conversations and for us to learn about nonprofits that we can help with my clients that I have and our partners here at City Current. So I think it's being more transparent, more open, and get out of that headspace of thinking 7 times before I actually post the video or the picture.
So hard. That's why it's easier to market other people, because then you don't have to market yourself as much. But it's a constant conundrum that I'm stuck in. So I'll join you on that one.
For me, it's going to be have more fun, and I'm telling all of my customers to invest in creating a gift library, because there's no better way to respond to people or to post with your own gifts. I know it sounds so like silly, but it's kind of actually also the whole point. So like I'm a super like facially expressive person, and because I use YouTube as my main platform for marketing my personal brand. So that's what I'm gonna like lean hard into in 2020. Like kind of expand like what Andrew and Sophia saying, like being more visual, but for me it's like having more fun.
Cool.
And how about you, Gavin? What's yours?
Me for this year? Just doing more of the same, really. Just trying to post more frequently, and trying to get the company basically to share more of their stories. So it's more about employee advocacy for me. How can we build confidence in our team to be more transparent, especially our customer-facing employees, to share their stories, share their learnings, share more with the world. Because we have a lot of learnings and discoveries we've made at Sendible. We just aren't sharing them enough. So trying to empower others, really. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you all for being here, taking an hour of your time to share your wisdom with our attendees. Really a great episode. Desiree, right here in Phoenix with me. Thanks for being here. Andrew, all the way from Memphis. Sophia from Vermont. Did I get that right? Yeah, from Vermont,
Yeah.
right? Way out there. And of course, Gavin from London. And Gavin, you can't show us a bell without ringing it. So would you ring us out of this particular webinar? And before you do that, where should we send people? Where can they learn more about you all?
Yeah, for me, as I said, if you guys want a hoodie, please reach out to me. It's gavin@sendible.com. If you're a customer or you want to start a trial, go to sendible.com. You can see what we do, what we offer. And once you do that, please email me and I'll send you a hoodie in the mail. Desiree.
I expect my hoodie at Social Media Marketing World as well. You can find me everywhere on the internet at Mrs. Desiree Rose. That's MRSDESIREE ROSE.
And I am at oliveandmilo.com. It's Olive and then AND and spelled out, and Milo is MILO. Oliveandmilo.com.
I also expect a hoodie, and
Mine should be in the mail already. I think.
Yeah, it should be on its way. I think it's coming.
Yeah, maybe mine's across the pond.
And you need to throw in chocolates for us. Some of those really good ones that you gave me last year.
You can reach me at Andrew JPEG, Andrew JPG, or at City Current.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you all. And of course, you can find me at park@businessstory.com. Thank you for being here. Thank you. And Gavin, go ahead and ring us out, would you?
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Take care.
Thank you.